This is how they line up. It's an Audi alongside a McLaren. We'll have two McLarens towards the front, courtesy of Tony Walls. John O'Lester's car will be now driven by Paul Kelly in this race. And yes, that is the Peter Fitzgerald of Porsche fame, now driving an Audi. Michael Hovey's been doing a great job in that Ginetta. And look at the all-star cast back on row 4. That's actually going to be Stephen Junior Johnson alongside Christopher Mies, 2012 Blancpain champion. Looking forward to seeing how Mies runs through the field. Yeah, look, these guys are going to, as I said, they're going to want to push on very early. But as we go back through the grid, you see everyone's sort of really starting to push on in this race 3. And it's great to see some of these guys that are new to the category, like Max Twig out there in the SLS Mercedes. Yeah, that car will be now driven by Jeff Emery. Twig did a great job with that thing yesterday, and they were towards the front of the first race, especially when the safety car came out, courtesy of the pit stops. Kevin Weeks and Ben Foser were both in the wars yesterday. As the crews head towards pit lane, and they will be needed because there will be compulsory pit stops for every single driver. The pit stop window will open up at the 10-minute mark, and it will close at the 20-minute mark. And with the two Camaros coming from the back as well, it should be interesting. It's been a rough start for the Reiter Engineering Serini Camaros this weekend. Teething issues, you could say, Warren. Yeah, look, they've had fantastic pace, and again, to have someone of the calibre of Thomas Enger, who's a factory Reiter driver over there in Europe, he's done a lot of the development work behind the Camaro, and again, it's a car that's got a huge amount of potential. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to show its true strengths this weekend. But again, it's going to be a car that, as the season progresses, this car is going to be hard to beat. They're using K-Tech engines, which are built in Michigan, and have a long history of operating with GM. They've engineered them through some Le Mans victories as well. Guys like Foyt, Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson have all won races driving with K-Tech engines. And a chance now to get some heat into the tyres of the Beechwood Squirk Audi for Nathan Antunes. It's one of the newer model R8 Ultras. We've got two kinds of R8s out there, the first of the generation R8 GT3 cars, and then these new Ultras. You can tell because they've got a slightly different front splitter, and the rear wings look different on them too, so the easiest way to tell them difference. There goes the sole remaining Erebus GT after a nasty accident for Morgan Habe yesterday. Hit the wall very hard through turn 8. Yeah, look, no one likes to see anyone have an incident through turn 8 there, and that was a really hard hit. But look, it was good to see him be able to get out of the car so quickly, and the medical crew were very quick to get to the scene and help him out of there. But yeah, you never like to see a fellow competitor have an accident like that, and obviously disappointing for the team not to have both cars out there today. James Konduras will be coming from the back as well in the Porsche, after Marcus Marshall put on a sterling drive in the first race yesterday, but unfortunately that car didn't take the start. The race was due to start in the front row for the 1 hour, which was for the Murray Walker Trophy. If at any point you want to join in, hashtag V8SC, and you can see what everyone's saying about the world of V8 supercars across the day on Twitter. But right now, it's all about the beautiful GTs. 19 cars entered this weekend in the top flight GT Championship category, which means that there's a lot of health in the sport with these beautiful new cars, GT3 current spec cars out of Europe. It's quite exciting when you look back through the field and you see all these different makes of cars, and as you said, it's the biggest field of GT cars here. In fact, it was oversubscribed. They had to cut back. So look, GT racing worldwide is going through a massive boom period, and we're seeing that here in Australia now. And there's a whole host of new cars. We've got one of the Maranello prepared Bentleys, which will be coming back for the 101 race. One of their Ferraris will be back as well. So there's still more cars to come. Oh man, the front two guys here are ready to go, and the rest of the field is nowhere to be seen at the moment. Here they come. They've got to catch up in a hurry here because the start of this race is imminent. Watch out for the two Jamac PEM Audis that will be coming off the 4th row. It's all up to Antunes here. He needs to gap the field and open up a good lead over Tony Quinn. It's going to be a drag race down to the first corner, and Quinny will have the inside going into the first chicane, so this is going to be interesting. Actually, a bit of an ugly start, this one, for a rolling start, though. Formation was much cleaner with the whole field banked up on the approach to the green flag. Are we going to get a green flag? We do. The race will be on. And away goes Antunes. Tony Quinn, second in the championship last year, will be up the inside. Is he going to be brave enough to go there? No. Oh, Antunes goes barreling over the curbs, and Paul Kelly hard into the fence. And the Ferrari gets cleaned up by the 650S as well. A massive pile-up in the centre chicane. Hovey's Ginetta's in there. The second of the Ferraris is involved as well. Steve Johnson's in there as well. Tony Wall's in the McLaren. Paul Kelly came bouncing over the curbs, went hard into the fence, came back onto the track, had a nasty impact with a few cars. Thankfully, Kelly's out of his Ferrari. and that's Winslow, I think, who's also been involved. Nasty accident at the start of the race. Peter Fitzgerald, damage to the front of the Audi, and yellow flags and safety car boards being showed at the moment. And Tony Walls involved in this one, and that is heartbreaking to see because he has been dynamite this weekend.
Yeah, look, Tony's obviously new to the category this weekend, and obviously great to see him out there in the 650S. And look, he'll be obviously gutted to have that happen in that first chicane.
Michael Hovey, who's been batting way above his average this weekend in terms of where that Janetta should be. He has been driving the wheels off that thing. He's involved. Elliot Barber, who's been helping out Nathan Antunes this weekend, watching on from the pits. And it's so disappointing when you see these kind of cars torn up on the first lap. It's a tight area. The Camaro is weaving its way through.
That Janetta of Michael Hovey is actually new to the championship this weekend as well. It's the G55. It actually runs the same Nissan quad cam V8 that we see in the Kelly Racing cars down there, and that's an outright car. Again, a car that's got a lot of potential. And as the season goes on and Michael gets up to speed with that car, again, that's going to be a car that you'll see at the front. But here's the replay of what happened, and obviously it all goes wrong for Paul Kelly coming into this first chicane.
Cold tyres, the upset with the balance of the car when it comes off the curbs. Probably what caused this one. Antunes was being courteous and trying to give Tony Quinn some room. Quinn was also being courteous and taking the inside curb, desperate to not run into each other. And it's the car in third that we're watching, the Ferrari 458 Italia. Wow, Antunes was way up on the curbs, but that was all to avoid contact with Quinn. Car 27 is the one that we're watching. Trass Family Motorsport taking pole position this weekend. Talk us through what happens here, Warren.
Look, these GT cars are very stiff, and obviously as he's had to run the curb there at turn 2, you can see now he's starting to lose the rear of the car. And pretty much all from here on, poor old PK was really just a passenger. It's come right around, and as we can see, obviously now heading straight to the wall.
There's absolutely nothing he can do by this stage. The tyre wall on the inside grabs the front of Ferrari, and that's what sent it back out onto the racetrack. I mean, that wall is there, obviously, to stop people from having a head-on, or the tyres are there to stop people from having a head-on with the concrete. That is a massive impact still. And there's only one place that this Ferrari is going, and that's into the traffic.
Tony Walls was the first one onto the scene here, and as the Ferrari flicks back out, makes contact with the 650S, and then obviously the road's now blocked.
Oh, got him right in the right rear.
Peter Fitzgerald, big impact to the front of that Audi there. Steve Johnson behind is trying to go to the other side of it to see if he can get around, but unfortunately there's no room there either, and Stevie J was just an innocent victim, as so many were in this incident. You can see Michael Hovey there in the background. He sustained damage to the front of his vehicle as well.
Massive impact as the Ferrari digs into the right rear. And did the objective McLaren dig in on the left side as well? Oh, unfortunately, I think it did. Stephen Johnson will be devastated. He was so looking forward to today, a chance to prove his worth in GT cars. He wants to race in the World Endurance Championship or the Blancpain Championship over in Europe. And he doesn't have a chance to show off his talents. This is riding on board with Mees. He goes up the inside of Hovey. Watch up ahead as the Ferrari bounces over the curbs. Now Mees got away with one here, which is lucky because he was behind Fitzgerald. Oops.
Very lucky for Christopher Mees there. We see the McLaren spearing off there. Fitzgerald had gone already into the back of the 650S, and at speed, this is frightening.
Man, we're talking about cars that cost $500,000 here. And going into the wall extremely hard. Let's break it down once again. You're riding on board with German GT superstar Christopher Mees. We said it was an ugly start, but I was more worried about what was happening at the back. And it was the guys at the front, probably for the best that we didn't have everyone banked up on top of each other in the end.
Look, it could have been so much worse, as you said, if everyone had been banked in there. But watch from Christopher Mees' position here. He was the lucky one in this situation to be able to get away completely unscathed.
That was psychic from Christopher Mees. He was on the brakes almost as soon as that Ferrari cracked sideways.
Yep.
He is good, and that's why J-Mac Pam have brought him in to be the first Audi factory driver to take on a full campaign. Dick Johnson watching on, and he'll be disappointed to see that his son was involved in that accident, especially given the fact that it looks unlikely that Stephen Johnson's going to be racing in the Pertec Endurance Cup this year. Was trying to really focus on the full campaign in the championship here. the first time since the year 2000 he's done a full campaign in anything else but a V8 supercar.
As you said before, he was loving this car this weekend, and he'd been involved in a bit of testing prior to the Bathurst 12 hour for the team, and yeah, he was one of the guys to watch this weekend. Was really quick in opening practice, did a mega effort at the start of the 1 hour race last night, and as you're talking about, he was really looking forward to this 30-minute sprint race. Starting in P7, he had eyes to go forward, and obviously very disappointed for the whole JMAC PEM team, and obviously all the guys involved in that incident out there. No one likes to see bent race cars, and certainly for the start of a race like this, no one likes to see anything like that.
So Antunes the leader. Let's go down to the pits and find out some news with Cameron Van den Dungen.
Eric Pender, team manager, looking up to Stevie Johnson this weekend. Mate, this is a brutal racetrack.
Yeah, it certainly is. We weren't expecting that quite so early. Unfortunately, we got on the radio and he could see the incident happening, but the car bounced back in front of him. He had nowhere to go.
Thanks, Eric.
No worries.
How cool is it seeing some of the experienced names like Eric Pender working in the pits? Eric's experience here came when he engineered Arthur Abrahams to the F2 National Championship back in the 80s at this track. And obviously his experience through V8 supercars, renowned. And also Rob Crawford working with that team, Garth Tander watching on. And he actually won the Highlands 101. Hello, Garth. Took pole position at the season finale over there at the beautiful Highlands Motorsport Park. What a venue that is, just out near Queenstown in the South Island of New Zealand.
Look, it's an amazing venue, and again, full credit to Tony Quinn. He's definitely a visionary in terms of what he's done with Australian motorsport, and obviously now to go away and build that Highlands Park venue. And look, I was there last year, and look, Tony spent a lot of his own money to make that dream come possible. And again, we'll see the championship sort of wrap up there again this year. So it's one of those events that all the teams and drivers really look forward to doing, and look, we all can't wait to get back there again.
So hopefully keeping those tyres clean. There's just gravel and shards of carbon fibre, everything down there.
The interesting thing in this is going to be we're nearly 8 minutes into the race now, and for a lot of these guys, the compulsory pit stop window will open at about the 10-minute mark. So it's going to be interesting that whilst under safety car, are these guys going to be able to do their compulsory pit stops?
All right, let's get back down to the pits. He's caught up with your co-driver.
Another driver caught up in this incident was Simon Allingham. Simon, you weren't part of the initial accident, but mate, the concertina afterwards has got you.
Yeah, we made a good start. We made up one car, and then I think there was a couple sort of parked in the middle of the road up there, and then we just went into the back of one. There was nowhere to go through.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, cheers.
And the disappointment on your face, Warren, when you had to sit there and find out that news firsthand.
Yeah, look, obviously disappointing for Simon and obviously all the guys there at McElroy Racing. That's all three of our cars now involved in that first corner melee. So, look, obviously very disappointing, but looking forward to seeing Simon progress through this championship.
There is the MP412C McLaren of Tony Quinn, who's taken over from his son Clark for this race. In his 50s now, born in Aberdeen. He's lived in New Zealand, he's lived in Perth, but now he calls the Gold Coast home, owns that track of Highlands, and has made a fortune in the pet food business. He's kind of one of those gentleman drivers that's very good at his craft. He got into racing at a young age in Scotland, was racing in Formula Ford in his teenage years and thought, you know what, I might be able to make a game of this. And then a young kid from Italy with an American accent showed up, lapped him, and he thought, you know what, I don't think I will be a professional race car driver, I might stick to business. That bloke turned out to be Eddie Cheever, by the way.
He turned out to be half all right from memory.
Won the Indy 500.
Yeah, not
Stood on the F1 podium 9 times. Actually, Cheever's last race was right here, on a very wet day in 1989 in Formula One. And now Tony Quinn is back racing and does such a good job, even though he's an extremely well-off businessman as well. So we're still behind the safety car at the moment, and let's catch up with the man who won the Highlands 101 with Tony Quinn right now in the pits.
Garth Tander, I found you standing out here watching on the wall, mate. A lot of very expensive machinery up against the concrete block.
Yeah, it is. I mean, these double file restarts or starts in GT's tough. And then when you go down the first chicane like that on cold tyres, it's hard work. So, yeah, a lot of damage. Unfortunate for a lot of the guys in the field because it's a ripping field this year. But, yeah, thankfully Quinny got through in the McLaren, so that's the main thing.
Thanks, Garth.
Cheers.
And the pit stop window opens. You would obviously take it behind the safety car, but this is going to cost Antunes the lead here. And looking at this, trying to find who might be the big gain out of all of this. Maybe John Goodacre is going to resume the lead here.
Yep.
He's got a pit from the mid-pack probably, and now everyone's got different pit stop times, which is courtesy of where you start the race on the starting grid, and also your driver rating. Now, someone like Christopher Mies is a pro driver, so he has to stay in the pits for a whopping 39 seconds, but some of these other guys only have drive-throughs.
No, Christopher Mies has actually got to be stationary for
48 seconds, sorry.
So he actually gives away 9 seconds to Nathan Antunes in the pit stop, but here under safety car, that's really not much of a disadvantage. Sure, he'll be a couple of spots back on the restart, but for for Christopher Mies, this is what he really wanted. He wanted to be able to do this stop under safety car so that you're not losing that 9 seconds of green time running.
There's the Griffith entry. The Hog's Breath signage on it. Dan Gaunt was due to be driving that car this weekend, but it never eventuated. A man of V8 supercar experience. And this has just completely mixed the pack up. As it stands right now, John Goodacre did take the lead in the trophy class ex-Carrera Cup model Porsche, and Antunes has dropped all the way back down to 16th as a result of this. He was the big loser. Ken McConville stuck waiting as well in the pits. And he's back down in 22nd spot, and that's extremely disappointing to see that Audi on the flatbed, because Peter Fitzgerald's been blindingly quick this weekend.
Yeah, Fitzy's been having a great time. He's joined the Audi fold and did a couple of races at the end of last year, and had the 12-hour a few weeks ago where he had Matt Halliday and Michael Armand share the car with him. And look, he's really enjoying the GT series and this kind of racing. And look, Peter's certainly no stranger to GT racing over the years, having a very long and successful partnership with Porsche. And he'll be bitterly disappointed, because he was one of the guys that was going on really strong. Finished 4th last night in the 1-hour race.
There's a Ferrari in the hands of Ken McConville, who's trying to pick his way through. There he goes, off to the inside. We're bringing in the big guns to get this all cleaned up. Let's unlock this all again. The replay sequence from the start is dramatic, and it all starts with Kiwi Paul Kelly. 3 seasons of Porsche Carrera Cup. He's one of the more respected gentleman drivers out of New Zealand, and unfortunately for the Trass family motorsport Ferrari, cold tyres and curbs and stiff suspension catching him out. And it would be at the peril of a few others, including Peter Fitzgerald in the blue Audi in the background, also the Objective 650S of Tony Walls, and Stephen Johnson in the second of the Gemac PEM Audis. This initial impact is big. He actually cops 2 big hits here, Paul Kelly.
You see him actually come forward in the car there, and thankfully things like Hans devices and everything like that make driver safety so much better these days. But that's a really nasty impact, and then unfortunately for the following pack, there was really nowhere to go. That car bounces straight back out into the path. First contact is with Tony Walls in that beautiful 650S McLaren, and then it all hell breaks loose from there.
Tony Walls in the Objective car cops that massive hit to the right rear. Look at the carbon fibre fly, steam, gravel. And the CEO of Objective Corporation, it's a global software company, and this is how he likes to spend his spare time. He's also keen into his sailing, although he doesn't quite have as much time for that anymore.
No, he certainly doesn't. And you see, unfortunately, Steve Johnson over on the right of the Ferrari. He tried to thread his way through there, but there certainly wasn't anywhere for him to go. And again, just another one of the innocent bystanders in this. Michael Hovey in that Janetta 6 G55, again, got tangled up in there as well.
So all 3 McElrea cars copping a hit somewhere through there.
I think I might stay up here whilst the guys are trying to pack up. That's going to be a little bit harder.
So we're still behind the safety car at the moment, with John Goodacre taking the lead, but he's actually just ducked back into the pit, so this might hand the lead over to a challenge class car in Richard Gartner, which is unusual. I'm not too sure why Goodacre would come back into the pits. There must have been a problem with maybe not serving enough time in the pits. So weaving left and right to keep some heat in the tyres, and a good chance for us to find out a bit more about this famous 3.2K Adelaide circuit with Greg Murphy. Choice Bro, we're back with the restart for Australian GT Championship, and the fast guys are charging through, including Antunes. He's following the back of a Lamborghini, and this is essentially, Warren, an 11-minute sprint race, and this is the battle for the lead. Richard Gartner driving for David Wall Racing to the inside. Theo Konduras, who started back in the mid-pack behind John Goodacre, now gets to the lead.
Yeah, as you said, this is going to be a sprint race for the flag, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here, because unfortunately Nathan Antunes and Christopher Mies are finding themselves bogged back down in the pack, and the field didn't really sort of keep together on that restart, so they're all sort of stretched out. So I really think probably Theo Konduras and Jeff Emery are the two in the box seat here. And Tony Quinn, he's charging his way through. Jan Ginadasa there making way, which is nice to see.
Quinn's already around the big thumping Mercedes of Emery, so this is probably quite telling. They've got past Ginadasa's trophy class Lamborghini. We've got a trophy class from a challenge class from a championship class car, so all three are ripping through the field here. Tony Quinn's on a mission, and this Lotus is actually a lap down, courtesy of all the dramas that have been going on. So O'Connor steers out of the way, and through goes Tony Quinn, who is looking very nice here.
And somewhere up there in the background, you can see the blue lights of Nathan Antunes charging through the field. And obviously, look, he's got a championship to think about now. He's had 2 race wins. He doesn't want to do anything silly in the remaining 10 minutes of this race. He's seen his teammate get taken out in a first corner crash, and he just really needs to think about staying out of trouble and getting some good points.
Well, it looks like it might actually get reduced even further. 2 minutes 50 left, and this is why Quinn needs to charge right now. They'll be on the radio telling him, push, push, push. You need to pass some people. He goes to the right-hand side of a couple of David Wall racing cars. One's an Audi, one's a Porsche. Gartner's not going to make it easy for him. That's for second outright at the moment. Having said that, though, Quinn is first in class in GT Championship, and Antunes is coming as well. He's back there in 8th outright, trying to pick his way through the traffic. That's a tough spot to make a move stick, but he does it, and he started lets him through.
Theo Konduras' team will be on the radio trying to sort of guide and coach him around and let him know that there's only a couple of laps left of racing in this race. He needs to get his head down and get out of there, because obviously he's now got Tony Quinn in his mirrors, and Tony Quinn is on a charge.
Further back, here is Antunes is going to be absolutely charging. He's got about maybe 2 laps at most to pick off the better part of 7 cars. Boy, a little bit of a wiggle too through the centre chicane. Some of the dust clicks up from where the cleanup was. He's on the outside, and he goes deep under brakes. He's run off a few times down there. He goes around the outside of the Erebus Merc while he's at it. Great move. He picks up 2 on the outside. Ginadasa's next. He goes up the inside of him. And this is an inspired drive.
This is a huge drive from him. Obviously, we said he's got a championship to think about, but this is at the moment, he's driving like a guy that's not even worried about a championship down the inside of that lap Lotus, and he's absolutely on a charge. I just don't think he's going to have time to be able to catch these guys up ahead, but it's really good to see this kind of driving from him.
He's going to have a monster lead in the championship. He's almost doubled anyone else's points goal for the weekend, because he's the only car that's really come through smelling roses.
Christopher Meese there in the background. He wants to try and make amends for having that sort of puncture last night. He needs to try and score as many points as he can, going around the outside, the long way around. He saw what happened last night when he went there, but obviously able to make it stick this time.
Antunes now will be up behind Richard Gartner. Under brakes at turn 14. He's very sure on himself right now. And we're going to get a few more laps in, maybe 1. Never really know with the timed race. It's kind of a surprise finish.
He's 7 seconds behind Tony Quinn at this point in time, so you'd have to say in this short period of time left that there's no more time to be gained, but here's the race lead. And
we're being told this will be the last lap, so Quinn has to make it stick. His son's a 2-time winner here on the streets of Adelaide. And Antunes will be likely to wrap up the round given his massive points gap. But Quinn can grab himself a race win here. He's first in class, but he wants to be first outright. And it's a trophy Porsche that lies in the way. He's just got to be patient. Turn 9's the obvious spot.
Yeah, the ABS advantage of the McLaren is going to be a huge thing down here. It should be an easy pass. Depends how sort of defensive Theo wants to go. Tony goes to the inside, and yeah, quite easy.
Yeah, there was no point. I mean, for Theo, he's already first in the trophy class here. He doesn't want to risk getting turned around. Meanwhile, the boys are brawling. Gartner's going to go wide on the outside and try and let a few of the heavy hitters through, including Christopher Meese. Is that the second of the Superbarn Porsches that's been ripping through the field as well? But here is your race leader. And I think the checkered flag will be at the ready this time by for the series owner and owner of one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world, and the MP412C does claim a win. Mixed emotions and mixed feelings from the McLaren fans, but they will get 1 win at the end of the day. And Antunes has been ripping through the field. He'll finish 3rd outright in the race, which is an unbelievable effort, and he'll absolutely cruise home for a victory in terms of the round win. Tony Quinn should climb onto the podium here with his son Clark as a result of all of that. And maybe James Konduras that is, might climb onto the podium too with Marcus Marshall, but we'll have to wait for confirmation with the points. It might all, actually I think it might be Kelly, despite the accident with Jono Lester, that might get third this weekend. We'll have to wait for some confirmation on the round results, but that was a great drive by Tony Quinn, just kept his head about him at the end and got it done.
Yeah, look, it was great to see him obviously switch cars this weekend. Had a bit of a problem with his 650S in practice and jumped over and shared the car there with Clark.
So Clark and Tony Quinn take a race victory. Theo Konduras did well, but he'll take victory in the trophy class. And Richard Gartner, no wonder he was keeping his nose clean. He was on for a victory in the challenge class. So that's good news for David Walls of V8 Supercar fame. That's one of his cars. Over the page we go here. Mark Griffith, who was caught up with the pit stop dramas. Justin McMillan in the big thumping Camaro has managed to finish mid-pack off the back of the field. Also, Dale Patterson passed a few, so that's an improvement for the Camaros.
Yeah, look, it's great to see those guys having a good end to the weekend. And as we spoke about earlier, those guys will get stronger as the year goes on.
An expensive day for these guys. Kelly, Fitzgerald, Stephen Johnson all caught up with that one.